Wow, this turned out to be a very long review. So, for your sake, timestamps are in the description below if you want to skip to the different topics. Yeah. Enjoy.
What the heck was that? What just happened? What? 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 Alright. I didn't do this in my spoiler-free review, but I'm doing it now. Friggin' lightsabers out. This is the dark side. This is a spoiler review. You have been warned. Okay, sorry. Spoilers. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of this, shall we? Alrighty. Yes, new set location, by the way, for those of you who don't know. Obviously. Who cares? You probably don't care. Neither do I. Alright. My thoughts coming out of the theater was basically what I just did. Like, what the frick just happened? Weirdest, definitely the weirdest Star Wars movie ever. No question about it. Makes you feel like you're on an acid trip or whatever. And it didn't help that I didn't get much sleep before the movie. I was actually debating when to see it because I just kept not getting that much sleep and I wanted to be awake while experiencing it. So I went into it tired, and yeah, it definitely felt like a dream. It was so weird. It was so weird. This movie just makes you question what makes a Star Wars movie. It's all psychedelic and whatnot. Had to pinch myself and make sure I wasn't dreaming. Like, is this real? Is this really happening? Alright. Let us actually begin. Enough with that weird introduction. The title crawl. The main theme sounds better. Maybe my ears didn't hear it right, but it sounded like the prequel version of the title crawl music, main theme, whatever, as opposed to the last movie where it felt more hollow and bad quality. Probably just my ears in the theater, what I thought I heard, but that's what I thought I heard. The scenario the crawl introduces us to is so dumb. So apparently the First Order controls the whole galaxy now. They're in total control. The Resistance is seriously just another rebellion? Really? They legit say it straight up in the title crawl and a dozen times in this movie. They are rebels. Ugh. Rebels. It's more Rebels vs. Empire. Great. Just great. So much for that good New Republic action. Am I right? Anyway. The way the movie starts off is pretty neat, though. I don't quite remember it, but it's something like it's panning down past all these Resistance ships, and then it goes down to Dequar, or Yavin 4 2.0, whatever. And I was a bit nervous that they were going to open with another Star Destroyer. Whatever, it's a bit nitpicky, who cares? But anyway, I'm glad that they switched it up. It was definitely a cool opening, from what I recall of it. The bombers leave the planet just as their base is blown up. Well, I guess destroying a Death Star to save their planet was pointless, right? Because this laser from a ship just blows it up anyway. Well, not the planet, but, you know, the base on the planet. Yeah, well, the ships are cool. The bombers, they don't really do a whole lot, though. They just all get destroyed right there, except for one, with Rosa's sister on it. I thought that was Rosa at first, but it was her sister, apparently. And a lot of luck is involved in the scene. Just ting, oh no, I'm gonna cut. Oh, there, I caught it. Oh, we're good. Release the B-17 bombs down below. Oh, and then that one gets blown up too. By the way, why is that Dreadnought ship, pizza slice thing, whatever? Why does it have such an obvious weak point? Is the First Order really this incompetent? They're just like, yep, self-destruct button right there. Doofenshmirtz, evil incorporate. This is Poe Dameron of the Republic Fleet. I was like, frick yeah! Republic Fleet, yeah! The Republic is gone, you rebel scum, is pretty much what Hux said, and I was just like, it's like, ah, come on! The conversation between Poe and Hux over the intercom was alright, but a little too comedic for Star Wars. I mean, I thought it was kind of funny. Poe makes Poe makes like a yo mama joke or whatever, and then Hux is like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" He would have been great with Verizon, by the way. That was kind of funny, though a little too cheesy even by Star Wars standards. So Snoke's hologram face comes up, basically all Emperor-like. He's even like a pale, scarred Darksider. Like, what? More on that later, though. He shows up and apparently can fling Hux around through the Force from across the galaxy or wherever the heck he's from at that point. In the whole beginning, the First Order is pretty much presented as the Empire again, and the Resistance throughout the whole movie really are just rebels again. But yeah, more on all that later. They then go on this space chase with loads of First Order capital ships after this one Resistance ship and its support ships. Man, this Resistance is way smaller than I thought it would be, and the First Order is way bigger than I thought it would be too. I mean, I thought there was just a small remnant faction, but I guess they're way bigger than we thought. And by the way, what did blowing up the Death Star 3 have to do? Like, what did that accomplish? Because, I mean, not only was the Resistance base destroyed anyway, but also, why didn't the First Order suffer as much as the Empire did when it lost its Death Star? You'd think it'd be worse, because these guys are way smaller than the Empire. The reason their ships and cred are so big and so good quality, everything, is because they have to resort to quality over quantity, because they're this small faction, right? Or at least in comparison to the Empire. They're still big enough to be a threat because the New Republic is incompetent and they reduce their military or whatever, although that's never explained in the movies. And, so yeah, they're definitely the biggest at this point, though as far as compared to all the other eras, they're probably tiny. But yeah, I guess Starkiller Base being destroyed meant nothing. I mean, the Empire, when it lost its first Death Star, it had to regroup its forces, and it suffered like a big loss with the Death Star. But apparently, with Starkiller Base, it was just disposable, one-off thing.
Of course, they only needed it to sort of decapitate the New Republic and bring an end to the Resistance. So yeah, maybe that's why it only needed to suck in the sun twice. Who knows? Maybe they had twin suns, and that's what. And they needed something to reach across the galaxy since they're in the Outer Rims, and something that would do the job. Because they can't just roll up to the New Republic's doorstep and start shooting them. They would get destroyed. So they needed to be smart about it, and they needed forces to come in and control the galaxy. So they needed that super weapon to sort of destroy the Republic's fleet and leadership. And they were going to do it to the Resistance once and for all, but that didn't work out. So my guess is that they had not that many forces on Starkiller Base to begin with, because it was a one-off disposable thing anyway. They didn't really rely so heavily on it, is my guess, as to why it didn't affect them so much. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's continue on with this review, shall we?
Anyway, so like I was saying, the First Order goes on this space chase after the one Resistance ship and its support ships. The whole movie basically revolves around this chase. That's pretty much most of the movie. And since they have this new technology that allows them to track through hyperspace, getting some J.J. Abrams Star Trek reboot vibes over here. And they're gonna pursue them until they run out of fuel. That was more or less the entire movie. Disappointing, yet alright at the same time. I don't know how to feel about all this. I mean, it was cool for what it was, I gotta admit. Although you'd think they could have just went up to them and destroyed them, because they were pretty much stopped in space or going sluggish, and they were just back here sending artillery their way. Couldn't they have just gone up to them and destroyed them? Or sent out a bunch of squads to finish them off? Kind of like how Kylo Ren went and 2 escorts behind him. They did a lot of damage. Couldn't they have just sent a bunch more fighters? And by the way, when the bridge blows up, how come later in the movie it's intact as if that never happened? Or did I see that correctly? Am I missing something here? That was weird. Anyway, Finn and Rose go on this weird side quest to do stuff. Like, I honestly don't remember what they were doing. Like, they had to get this key thing to Snoke's ship archive or whatever to disable it or something. I don't know, I guess this is Death Star 4, the Supremacy. They had to find the plans to it, or I don't even remember what they did. They just went on a quest to Canto Bight, this casino place, which I really don't know what happened. I was just so facepalming so hard at all the crappiness of everything, all the silliness, I just didn't really... I failed to understand what the heck happened. But anyway, the horse riding thing was a bit lame. So much CGI. So much silly George Lucas humor. I'm just warning you. I mean, I honestly don't really care about all that. They go on this police chase. Freed a bunch of animals. The place basically mirrored the horse races in real life, with the rich snobby people betting on the horse races and crap. It was pretty much exactly that in the Star Wars universe. I mean, they didn't even... It was just straight up. And I'm told, because I went on a bathroom break during this time, I didn't care that much and I had to pee, that after the fact, Rose removes the saddle from the horse thing and it's like, this is... Now our mission is complete. This is what we came for. What? They only used those horse things to get away, to escape. They were like banging the horses' heads through all those walls trying to get through, I imagine. Like those walls that just freaking blow up out for some reason. Like the weakest walls in like ever. So you used those animals for your own benefit. You used them! And they called that heroic because they happened to free them a little bit in the process, even though they could easily get recaptured. Who knows? I wasn't there. But so screw the slave children, right? They're just left there, like, oh, here's a ring. Don't worry, there's always hope. Come on, animals. Anyway, now about the individual characters. So Finn, speaking of him, he's much more chill in this movie. Whereas he was the in-your-face comic relief for the last movie, despite his tragic backstory. This time around, he's much more chill, laid back. He blends in more. I liked him this time. I actually was like, no, Finn, no, when he was going to sacrifice himself in the ski speeder. But then his new love saves him in the nick of time, compromising the whole existence of the Resistance in the meantime. The existence of the Resistance. That's something I didn't think I'd say. Interesting. That's okay. Kind of ruined the moment. Like, Finn could have gone out a hero, but instead Rose is like, no! Which I'm glad I get to see more Finn in the next movie. He's really grown on me, but at the same time, that could have been a heroic death. But you know this movie, heroic deaths, nope. Not their thing. They aren't about that life, apparently. Rose is okay, I guess, though she's a little crazy. What's up with the necklaces, though? Like, they're two halves of the Rebel emblem or something. It looked like it was supposed to be the Rebel emblem, but it didn't have, like, the thing in the middle, so it looked like a big U, I guess, if you were to put them together. Weird. It reminded me of the fan necklace in real life, where it's the Rebel emblem. One side says, I love you, the other side, I know. Combine them, you know. It's like that. Of course, it's, in this case, it's more of a sister bond. It's not like a romantic thing. I hope not. That'd be weird. We don't need more Luke and Leia all over. By the way, I like how DJ later takes it in this seemingly desperate situation of barter, and later gives it back because it just turns out he only needed a conductor. that was pretty funny. Speaking of which, DJ, I think his name is, that new guy. He's interesting, I guess, but he's just kind of, yeah. I mean, I guess he was the more interesting characters of the movie, though even he felt a little underwhelming. Of course, it's only my first viewing. All I remember is everyone was underwhelming, let's be honest. But he somehow manages to escape jail along with Finn and Rose and makes a very not-so-clean getaway. I mean, seriously, these horses can smash through walls. They did it like 3 times. The physics of this movie just defy logic, by the way, but whatever. He turns out to be this traitor, and sells them out to the First Order for them good credits. Good credits. Which was a bit odd and not done that well, but it is what it is, I guess. So long, DJ, we hardly knew ya. Poe and BB-8 are alright in this movie. Poe is one of the more okay characters. He's like this hothead or whatever that learns his lesson that you need to be more trusting. Which, by the way, that whole arc made no sense, but more on that in a second. And he actually gets to meet Rey in this movie, which I bet 99% of us were like, oh yeah, they didn't meet, did they? BB-8 shows off more of his tools that he somehow compacts in that small round body of his. All these weird metallic fingers that come out and plug up everything or whatever happened there, I don't remember, but what's all in there? How can all that fit? Like, it was like just like Freddy Krueger hands all. How does all that fit inside his body? Plus that lighter thing. Oh yeah, there's also more BB units in this. It's okay there. It's okay. You don't have to shake no more. This room is very shaky. The new commander lady, what's her face? I forgot her name. Have I talked about her yet? I'm pretty sure I didn't, and just getting spoiler-free deja vu. But anyway, whatever her name is, she had like sort of blue hair, and the commander lady, what's her face? She was alright for what she is, but she's kind of lame. She has this whole weird plan that is for the good of the Resistance, I guess, and stuff, but she acts like it's this big secret and keeps Poe and everyone in the dark about it. I mean, couldn't you have just told them the plan? And yeah, reminded me of that Jedi dude in the Clone Wars, that one movie where he turns out to be a traitor. He's trying to get him killed. You know, honestly, that would have made a more compelling story regarding her if she was a traitor working for the First Order trying to get them killed. But no. She's just a good guy with communication problems, apparently. The way she goes out, though, is amazing. We've never seen anything like it before. The ship just crashing into the bad guys' ships with light speed, goes through hyperspace, and it just cuts through them all like a butter knife. The First Order's fleet is pretty much obliterated in this weird, stunning, science questioning itself Fruit Ninja fashion. It was awesome. That's probably my favorite scene, too. It's just that was a pretty stunning moment. It was awesome. That should have been Leia, though, who sacrificed herself, I think. Speaking of Leia, she's pretty underwhelming in this movie. She does little to nothing, which is a real shame, considering the actress Carrie Fisher has now passed away. Her last time on the big screen, I guess her big send-off, they didn't know it was going to be, but granted, but, you know, still, she didn't get to do much, and it's very sad and unfortunate, because she does not die in this movie. I mean, not that that's sad and unfortunate, but it could have been easier. They could have made it better, because they had two opportunities to kill her off in this grand way. Just send her off in a beautiful way. There was that one instance where that bridge was destroyed, which I don't know how it's intact later, but whatever. Continuity. And she's just floating up in space like Star-Lord from the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Just weird glowing hairs all over her body. I don't know what that was about. And that could have been a good moment. But no, she just defies physics and gravity. I mean, I say defy physics in Star Wars, but you know what I mean. As far as the Force is concerned, apparently you can attract yourself to other places, like Superman, almost. Just like a magnet. Or was she pulling the ship closer to her? I don't know. The whole thing was weird. It was so lame. I was like, the frick was that? She just like, what? What the frick? What was the point of that whole scene even? Just whoosh, steps inside. Well, ain't that convenient? But anyway, that, or she could have been the one who did that light speed trick and destroyed all those ships and allowed the Resistance to to escape. That could have been her. And knowing her character, she would have stubbornly refused to let someone else sacrifice their own lives when she could have done it. Right? That's what Leia from the original trilogy would have done, right? She just like, no. Someone tase this woman. I'm doing it. But no, she's just like, okay, well, it was nice knowing you, I guess. You know, she's just way too easily convinced that the woman should sacrifice herself. She's like, okay. She just tags along in this whole movie. I mean, she doesn't do anything really significant. 2 opportunities to kill her off, and neither one are taken. She's just kind of there the whole time. Luke is awful in this movie. He just went to that island just to die. He turned his back on the whole galaxy, as I suspected, due to self-pity or whatever. The Luke we knew from the original trilogy would never do that. As I said in my review of The Force Awakens, this is the same dude who stubbornly and stupidly put everything on the line twice just to save the ones he cared about. And now he just gives up because his nephew went rogue? For whatever reason, just Snoke. I guess, I don't know. What? I mean, unbelievable. Luke became a total coward. What was the deal with the map that led to him in the last movie? Not led to him. Why did it exist? Who created it? What was the map pieces about? Why? They never explained that. It's just, oh, you came here through a map? Okay, no, I'm not coming back. Or whatever. Like, the heck? He also went a little crazy, by the way. Much like Yoda back in the day, he's this insane old hermit or something. He's basically, the way he is in this movie, it feels like Mark Hamill wearing a Jedi robe. Which, obviously, I guess that's what Luke is, whatever, but if that makes any sense. The way the character speaks and acts, I mean, not a diss toward Mark Hamill, he's awesome, that's just kind of what this felt like, is all. What Luke felt like in this movie. It didn't feel like Luke. It felt like Mark Hamill acting like the trickster, acting like Luke, or I don't know. Frick, I don't know. But, yeah, and apparently you can do that to brick buildings. Just, granted, they were old buildings, but still, they just blew up way too easily. The way he dies at the end, while great and cinematic, I guess, is just a missed opportunity. At first, we are led to believe that he somehow went to Crate and now is walking out to face all those walkers. They fire at him, and he doesn't die. Which I thought was weird at first, but yeah. Then after his fake duel with Kylo, do they ever even touch lightsabers? That's a weird sentence. It turns out he was never there in person. It's just him doing whatever that was. Just astral projection or something. Convincing everyone through the Force that they're seeing him or something. I don't know. What was that? Elaborate, please. What the heck just happened? Apparently that can happen now. Whatever. The whole thing was just, yeah, I don't know. And I guess he never really did reunite with Leia in person and give her the dice from the Millennium Falcon in remembrance of Han. Unless, like, can you manipulate physical objects through the Force when you do that whole projection thing? Like, can you, like, take an item in your hand from here, project yourself over to whoever it is you want to talk to, and then just, like, give them the object? How does that work? Just manipulate time and space, or what? I don't know. Honestly, the whole thing was just so confusing and unneeded. He could have actually gone there and went out in a grand way. I mean, perhaps he went there via his X-Wing that he pulls out of the water again, and flies in from behind, takes out those walkers at the weak points that looked like was on the top, or whatever. Maybe he could have crashed in the hangar or whatever, got out on foot and went out to face them like he did with this projection image thing. That would have been an awesome moment. But no. It was just him projecting himself, or whatever the heck that is. He just falls over and dies from exhaustion because he projected his image there instead. What? I mean, this is Padme's son, granted, the woman who died of a broken heart. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense that he would die in a stupid way too, but still, he could have just gone out in a grander way. It's such a missed opportunity. What the heck are you thinking, Lucasfilm? Just freaking project yourself there? Why not actually go there? It would have been so much better and meaningful and actually made sense. Instead, we have to come up with all these weird theories like, what the frick? Yeah. But I was kind of happy that they remembered in the lore that that certain Jedi or Force users, whatever, disappear when they die. I don't know how he learned that though. I guess from Yoda or Obi-Wan or Anakin. I mean, I don't even know how Anakin became a Force ghost, but still, whatever. Because it was all about retaining your identity after death, right? I mean, that's what Qui-Gon taught Yoda. Yoda taught Obi-Wan. If you watch the Clone Wars, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't know. As far as the movies are concerned, I guess it makes a little sense. And by the way, that whole moment where he's milking that CGI character next to the water and then just drinks it right there, that was a bit gross. That was a bit much, but okay, whatever. Speaking of Yoda, he's actually in this movie, it turns out. He looks so weird, though. I don't know what effects they use for him, but it's painfully obvious that it isn't practical. He looks just so different, less like all those movie versions. I mean, well, granted, they all pretty much changed a bunch. I mean, it was like he was a puppet in the original trilogy, this weird, different-looking, crazy puppet in Episode 1, and then the CGI guy, it's like, make up your mind, what does he look like? And in this movie, he just looks freaking weird. I actually laughed a little when I saw him. I'm like, what the frick? And he was like, and he was solid looking, literally, not as in cool, because it wasn't cool. It was actually like there, but there was like just this sort of subtle blue glow around him, which that's not what Force ghosts are supposed to look like, but whatever. He looked more like he did in the Rebels TV series, only like live action version of that, I guess. And apparently a Force ghost can materialize and physically affect things, because he was able to hit Luke over the head with his cane and even send down lightning to destroy that tree that had the teachings in it or whatever. I guess his views of all that stuff changed, being dead now and all. I'm sure he's had time to reflect and see the true nature of the Force or something. I don't know. If Force ghosts are so powerful, though, how come none of them ever help out? All they do is just give advice. Like, he could have helped them fight the First Order or something. Frick, I don't know. Disappointed, though, that we never get to see Anakin's Force ghost. Or Obi-Wan's, though that's explained in real life because the actor has passed away, like, quite a while ago, but thanks to the special edition of Return of the Jedi, though, it's in canon that Anakin is his younger Hayden Christensen-looking self as a Force ghost. So, even then, though, could it be explained that they can, like, choose what age they come across as or something like that? I mean, heck, they can do whatever they want in the Force now, apparently, so that's even more believable if you ask me. Future goal, all aligned with each other can still make sense. But anyway, whatever. I wanted to see his perspective, his reaction to everything, and Hayden Christensen, at least in the eyes of all the prequel haters, can redeem himself. So, yeah, whatever. Would have been cool to see him interact with Kylo and be like, "You're wrong, okay? You're wrong. I don't want this." Rey is pretty great in this movie, sort of, especially her whole arc with Kylo Ren. She tries to convince Luke to come back with her and help the Resistance, which I totally predicted would happen, by the way. Luke was walking away slowly, and then Rey walks after him. But you have to help us. You're Luke Skywalker. No, but those days are over. But no, that pretty much happened, but it went a little different as I thought it would. Like, ultimately, she never convinced him. He just stayed there the whole time. Okay. And there wasn't any training going on. Like, we thought most of the movie she'd be there training with Luke, but really she just kept walking around having little conversations here and there. They never trained. There was only like one scene where he teaches her part 1, I guess, and that was really nothing more to that. She swings her lightsaber a few times. He doesn't even show her how. She's just... And all of a sudden, she's a Jedi? She's just an expert at it now? What? She's definitely... For those of you who complain that she was a Mary Sue in the last movie, which, by the way, all that could be easily explained, but in this movie, you're going to have a field day, because she is definitely a Mary Sue in this movie. Holy crap. She's just good. For no reason this time. As for the questions about her origins, like who are her parents, what is her last name, where is she originally from, etc., kind of answered, but not really. Apparently, she's a nobody who was sold by her parents for drinking money. Really? If it's gonna be this cliche where anyone can be great or whatever, then why make it a big mystery from the get-go? In the last movie, they had it so under wraps. Who is she? You know, like, they wanted us to ask that question. They didn't give us her last name. They didn't give us who her parents were. None of that. And in the novelization, so I hear, Kylo was even like, "It is you." Snoke is like, "If what you say about this girl is true, bring her to me." And he has this reaction like what girl is it, when the guy tells him that Finn and BB-8 escaped with. He just like slices up like, "What girl?" as if he knows who he's talking about. But no, she's just a nobody and no one knew. And the way the way Han acts around her sort of indicates that he might know who she is a little bit. I don't know. And then the way Luke looks at her at the end of The Force Awakens, like, "Oh, it's you." And wasn't it even confirmed by Lucasfilm that was why he looked that was his expression, was because he knew who she was? No, I guess he's just like, "Who the heck are you?" in this movie, and no one knows who she is. So why was it so mysterious? Why you gotta do this, Lucasfilm? Why you gotta do this? But yeah, anyway. That's one funny aspect about this movie, though, is that it just craps all over your expectations. All those countless theories out there, just... I mean, granted, Kylo could have been lying to her to sort of persuade her. That's still up for debate, but who knows? I mean, I kind of feel like she really is a nobody. I don't know. I mean, anything is possible at this point in the movie, which brings me to another point. Everything that happens in this movie is not predictable. Everything you thought you knew going forward was all a lie. Not saying that is good or bad, just saying you're in for a surprise either way. I do like that, at least. How unpredictable the movie is, as opposed to the last movie where everything was just so painfully predictable and you knew what was going to happen. As soon as you think this movie will go left, bam, it goes right. Now that aspect I can get behind. They even mentioned the prequels a little bit regarding how the Jedi were ignorant and allowed a guy like Darth Sidious to rise to power. That's what Luke said. So I'm relieved that they aren't fully forgetting and dissing the prequels. Kylo Ren is great in this movie. He is still conflicted and is still a main character, much like Rey, the other side of the coin, like I said in the Force Awakens review, despite him being a villain. He nearly kills his mom, but decides not to since the light still has a hold over his soul. I imagine after killing his father, he's more conflicted than ever before. He definitely has some struggle going on. The way he goes about everything, especially as far as Hux and Snoke are concerned, it's just intense. He makes them his B-words, essentially, and just moves on. It's insane. Apparently, he is the Supreme Leader of the First Order now since he killed Snoke. More on that later. Interesting. We shall see how all that plays out. Mother's army versus son's army. It's going to be pretty interesting. By the way, I'm reading this off of my post on Tumblr. That's why I sound so monotone, like I'm reading something. Despite him never amounting to his grandfather in terms of being like a total boss of a villain, he's still ahead of him in terms of rank and progression. Like, Vader was a slave his whole life. Legally one in the hands of slavers during his childhood, then a slave to the Jedi in their strict ways, and then, after he betrayed them, a slave to the Sith and the Empire. And he never was really a full-on leader of anything in the grand scheme of things. But, here's Kylo leading the bad guy faction in a trilogy. That is insane. How crazy is that? He just easily kills his master and follows on destroys his rivalry with Hux. Basically slapping him and in the face and making him bow to his wishes. That was funny, by the way. What a twist! What a twist! Good or bad, I don't know quite yet, but I can say I'm curious to see what they do with his character in the next movie. I mean, what the heck is there left? We shall see. By the way, the whole meme picture thing of Kylo Ren's bulgy, shirtless body was right. That's what he looks like in the movie. I was like, what the freak? That's not... There's no way that's his body. There's no way. But, yeah, I mean, the picture, I think, is a little more exaggerated and bulgified, but still, it looked kind of weird and fake. It's just weird that I'm talking about a man's shirtless body. Moving on, Kylo and Rey have this weird connection through the Force. Being able to not only talk to each other, but see one another in real time. Force Skype or something? I don't know what the frick that was about. Apparently that exists. Who knew? That's only one of the few new abilities of the Force that apparently exists. Would have been helpful earlier in the saga, right? Turned out, though, it was all Snoke doing that. I mean, seriously, if you're just gonna butcher the Force like this and make new abilities happen out of the blue, at least explain it a bit, make some sense out of the dang thing. Speaking of the devil, Snoke. What the frick, Lucasfilm? So this butthead of a villain is apparently nobody significant as well? All those theories just trashed. Not that I care about that, but I was hoping he'd at least make it to the end of the trilogy, being the ultimate bad guy, like the ultimate villain at the end of the saga. Someone of great significance, perhaps the dark side itself personified, or just something of importance. Like, otherwise, why the heck is a random Force-using bad guy leading the First Order? What the frick does Snoke have to do with the First Order? This remnant extremist faction is being led by yet another scarred, pale Darksider? What? Who the heck is he? Where did he come from? Why is he there leading the First Order, and how did he get to that point? None of these questions are answered. I'm hoping they will be in Episode 9, but none of them are answered, and he just dies. There's a theory that he's still alive, but whatever, I'm not going to get into that. Look it up. They never explain crap, and I have this feeling that they're never going to. Like, they just want it to be another original trilogy, because people are like, well, in the original trilogy, the Emperor is never explained, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but at least, as far as the saga's concerned, they got prequels to explain them. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. This isn't another original trilogy, you guys. This is the sequel trilogy. Prequels, originals, sequels. The prequels to this movie were the originals, basically. That explains whatever background here, and then this is explained, like, whatever things happen in between and whatever mysteriousness is here through, I guess, flashbacks and what explanations and crap. Do your job, sequel trilogy. Explain who the frick this guy is, at least! Some entity, ancient entity of pure evil, or something. But nope, slice! All Darth Maul all up in here. He's dead now, in a crazy twist. As awesome as that twist was, I was still like, to know all that info, like, that I just said. Because from my current knowledge, which the movies never talk about, by the way, the First Order was formed by Imperials who had fled into the unknown regions after having been defeated by the now restored Republic at the end of the Galactic Civil War. They had now sought revenge against the rebel scum and formed a new organization. This time they would remove all weaknesses the Empire had and stop at nothing to destroy the Jedi and Republic once and for all. So where does Snoke fit into all that? Like, really. He didn't even need to be a character at all. Take him out of the equation and the story is pretty much the same. I mean, nothing seems that significant anymore aside from the Jedi's ending. I mean, really? Like, why is this... Is this just what happens later? Like, why is this a part of the saga itself, episodes 7 to 9? There's gotta be a reason. Other than, this is what happens later. I don't want this to just be a one-off trilogy. Seeing seeing what happens later. But yeah, take him out of the equation. It's pretty much the same, I guess, apart from seducing Ben Solo to the dark side, but you could explain that otherwise, I guess, make it up. You could have had instead just like this officer guy or something who took lead of the First Order, who instead of just another Force user guy, and then he wants and then this guy wants another Vader enforcer because he's from the bloodline, like Snoke says in the movie. That that makes sense, but what about? But like instead of Snoke, it could have just been like this regular dude who was on top of things or whatever. The way he dies, while a twist, is just lame in regards to his character. Here is this apparently omnipresent and unstoppable being brought down by an object that he just kind of ignored that was right next to him! And it was about to ignite. Apparently he could sense everything, but not that. He could sense all of Kylo's thoughts and pretty much read everyone's minds, but he couldn't know what Kylo's intent was? Unbelievable. I'm sure he'll be back in one way or another, maybe. Whether by ghost or some contingency plan like the Emperor had or whatever, I don't freaking know. You can't just introduce an insane character like him and not do something significant and major. I mean, we'll see what happens, but if nothing else, at least explain who he was. I don't want... Again, I don't... Explain why he's leading the First Order. Please tell me we won't have to buy the DLC, the books and expanded universe and stuff to unlock the full story of the movies. Please tell me that's not what they're doing. General Hux. He was alright in this movie. Just kind of a stereotypical Imperial officer guy, though, but still the Hux we knew from The Force Awakens. Really nothing much to his character other than that. I mean, he's Hux. I found it hilarious, though, how Kylo Ren just shot down the rivalry and made him lesser than in rank. Just whatever rivalry they had, competition, whatever, just whoosh, nope, you're my servant now. Pretty funny. General Sucks, as I like to refer to him as, and Kylo Rant. I really don't like whatever dialogue Hux tends to have. As much as I mean, I like his character, don't get me wrong, but it seems that whenever he opens his mouth, I get to be reminded of the fact that we're never going to see the Republic in action. just today's the end of the Republic, or no, the Republic is gone, my friend. It's just more rebels. Captain Phasma sucks in this movie. She sucked in the last movie, but she sucks in this one too. She apparently survived being thrown into a trash compactor on a base that got completely destroyed a short while later. Zero explanation given. She just kind of shows up, remember me? I guess just to give her a second chance at whatever potential awesomeness was there for her. Kind of failed, though. She has this last stand against Finn. The fight between them was pretty epic, don't get me wrong, but it felt very kind of out of place. Then she just dies as stupidly as she was used in the trilogy. Granted, at least it was more of an honorable and epic looking death than being told that she was thrown somewhere in some trash compactor. But yeah, her face is never shown, though, like they showed in the promo pictures. She never takes her helmet off or anything. Not that I really care to see her face. That sounded a bit mean, but still. It just shows her eye because that piece gets blown off or whatever. That's really the full extent that we ever get to see under the mask, so to speak. And yeah. I guess we really do need to read her book in order to understand why she's such a bad A or whatever. The movies just make her a total dumb villain, though. Just all around an unneeded and awful character. What a crappy villain. First Order in general is treated like the Empire in this movie. I guess the people who worked on this movie didn't see The Force Awakens or get the memo about the era. I mean, I guess it makes some sense since they pretty much seized control of the galaxy now militarily. Not governmental, I guess, but it just feels like they're the government almost. I don't know. Even still, I like how toward the end, in the Battle of Crate, both sides seem to be rusty and toward their end. I thought they could easily both stop fighting and shake hands any second, realizing the greater good. You know, one of those cliches. Just when the walkers cease fire and they allow Kylo and Luke to have that dialogue. Similar to how in real life back in World War I, or whatever war it was, the two sides started singing Christmas songs and they both stopped fighting and came together for that one day. I mean, it didn't happen in the movie, though. Let me be clear. The First Order kept trying to kill the Resistance off, but still, I got the vibe that it could end right there at any moment, is what I mean. Like, the First Order actually seemed small again in that moment, as opposed to this mighty reestablished empire that the movie makes it seem as in the beginning. They're sort of more like the Separatists at times, seeing all these dang super weapons they got. The big cannons on the Dreadnought, frigate, pizza slice ship thing, whatever. The crazy artillery of the Supremacy, just to name a couple. Also that battering ram, miniature Starkiller cannon thing at the Battle of Crate, where they're trying to destroy the Resistance's hangar door thing, you know what I mean. All that just reminded me of the Separatists in the Clone Wars series. I guess if you make the Separatists this smaller human faction and give them the ideals and attitude of the Empire, you get the First Order. So by the end of the movie, the Resistance is apparently a new rebellion now, and all of them can fit inside the Millennium Falcon. I don't know how they're going to defeat the First Order now, but knowing how plot armor works, I'm sure it'll be done somehow. I almost think they won't win in the end, and the First Order will reign supreme in the galaxy. A sort of weird, dark, yet oddly hopeful potential ending to the Skywalker saga. I don't know how to feel about it, really. The movie broke me, okay? The movie broke me. And, you know, they're probably gonna leave that open for the DLC that is Rian Johnson's coming up trilogy, so they can milk the cash cow for what it's worth. The movie ends showing these slave boys on Canto Bight, one having the rebel ring Bros had given him. He looks up to the stars as a distant Millennium Falcon, which apparently can sort of be seen in the distance. I mean, geez, I can't even see Mars when I look up. What the heck? Speeds away into hyperspace. A neat ending, but a little crappy. I guess we're stuck with the rebellion again. There goes our chances of ever seeing the New Republic military in action on the big screen. That would have been awesome, wouldn't it? But even still, oddly enough, I found myself kind of liking the movie by the end. I found myself being oddly okay with the choice to go back to Rebels vs. Empire. I don't know, I feel like I can sort of get behind where they're going with this. I could see their point of view, what they're doing. The way they went about it and appear to be heading with the last movie, I get it now, sort of. I can finally see what they're going for, and I think I can get behind it. It's like the end all be all, instead of just, you know, the disposable, instead of just kind of disposable, the New Republic versus Imperial Remnant type of thing the EU had going on, or whatever they did, the Legends one, I mean. This seems more like we're at the end of our rope. It's the end all be all. You know, there's significance behind it. The end of everything, I guess. Everything has pretty much been destroyed, and here we are in a hopeless yet hopeful situation. Wars can definitely change things for the worse in the long run, I guess is what it shows. Just declines in the galactic population. Everything's going to crap. Orders keep rising and falling and all this jazz, and we're about to end it all. So I guess what they're going for is a little more significant, but still, would have been cool to just call what the Resistance is, just they're the Republic or something, I don't know. Of course, I wouldn't have that underdog feel, now would it? It makes the original trilogy and all that happen prior just pointless. Jyn Erso and the Rogue One team sacrificing themselves to get the Death Star plans, and Luke later destroying it against all odds. The Rebels having a major struggle against the Empire that is pushing back. Luke going to save his friends and putting everything on the line. The many Bothans that died to bring them the information that would ultimately lead to a final showdown with all the Rebels got versus the might of the Empire. Luke finally managing to bring his father back to the light, and with countless losses and countless things going on, I guess, to destroy yet another Death Star and finally bring an end to the Empire once and for all, and an end to the Sith. Everything was all for nothing, apparently. I mean, first of all, in the last movie, an even bigger Death Star comes along, so that's pointlessness number one. The Republic gets destroyed, so there goes what the Rebels worked so hard to restore, pointlessness number two. Now it's just another rebellion versus this new Empire, the First Order, and it's not looking good for the heroes. What was the point of it all? That one lady even says in the movie that the Resistance, New Rebellion, whatever, is fighting to restore the Republic. I thought Wikipedia was just talking out of its butt when it said that they're fighting to restore freedom and liberty and all that crap. Again? The Rebel Alliance already did that years ago. What even matters anymore? Same goes for the New Jedi Order and just everything else. What is the point of anything that happened ever? The rhyming. It doesn't really do that great of a job. And no, I'm not complaining that it was different. More on that after this. As far as the middle movie of a trilogy, it really didn't do things well. As far as fitting in like a puzzle, like poetry. First of all, the title. The last two middle movies are 4 words long and have something to do with the offense of the Stormtrooper faction or whatever. This title is just about the Last Jedi person. Granted, if it was something like the First Order's Retaliation or something along those lines, it would definitely be a ripoff of The Empire Strikes Back. So, I guess there wasn't too many good options for the title, and it ultimately doesn't matter, but still, kind of breaking tradition a little bit. Now, for the events of the movie, as far as the rhyming thing is concerned. No space chase through an asteroid field. I mean, there is a space chase, a very long one, but not with asteroids involved, that I remember anyway. No place surrounded by landing platforms, unless you count Canto Bight, which I guess was just one giant circle, so maybe that rhymes? I don't... No Fett flying the Slave One, or really any bounty hunter working with the bad guy group for that matter. Unless you count DJ, which I guess the rhyme in that case now is just scumbag guy who makes a deal with the bad guys or something. There is, however, a battle in a wasteland with walkers involved. I was afraid that the Battle of Crate was going to rehash the Battle of Hoth, knowing how the last movie went with the whole attack on Starkiller Base. But, much to my surprise, pleasantly, it didn't. I thought they were going to have to exploit a weakness in the walkers or whatever. Just alright, let's take those walkers out. You go on that side. Oh, we need to find a weakness. Oh, their armor's too strong. Oh, they have the things on their legs now. We can't throw ropes on them. Oh, let's fight it. You know, something that was cringeworthy. But you know what I mean. I thought that was going to happen. As for the tradition that comes with every movie, I don't remember anyone saying, I've got a bad feeling about this. I heard it was BB-8 at the beginning, but does that really count, though? I mean, we can't understand what he's saying. I mean, I guess the way Poe replies to him indicates that he had said that, but... Also, I don't recall hearing a Wilhelm scream anywhere in there. Granted, those things could have happened while I went to the bathroom for a few minutes, because I didn't really care what was going on. It was during the Finn and Rose running away on that horse thingy. So, yeah, and I had to pee, so, yeah. Or perhaps I overlooked it, one ear and not the other, so to speak. Aside from the Battle of Crate and I guess sort of the space chase, it doesn't really rhyme with The Empire Strikes Back and Attack of the Clones. Or really any other movie, I guess. I mean, it does kind of rehash a little bit from Return of the Jedi, like a throne room scene, though that goes different. But still, did we really need a throne room scene like that? It was weird. Perhaps I missed a lot of aspects of my first viewing. But yeah, the whole rhyme thing is just a minor nitpick. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Believe me, I'm not complaining that we get something completely new and different. That was exactly what I was hoping for after the last movie left a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, does it really have to be all the way left or all the way right? Does it really have to be all blatant rehashing or no traditions or anything whatsoever? Can't we meet somewhere in the middle? Where it's completely new and different, but still carries over those traditions, the whole subtle rhyming sprinkled in there? I mean, if that's all this Disney-fied Lucasfilm knows how to do is go all the way that way or all the way this way, I'll take that way any day of the week. The completely different. Because I don't like the rehashing. It's like, if I want to see that movie, I'll see it. You know what I mean? I'm watching this one, so give me something new. This whole movie just felt like a weird experience. I'm glad they did things differently, though. However, different doesn't always automatically mean the movie itself is good. I hate that argument that the fanboys make against other fanboys, or the haters as they call them, not real fans or whatever. You complained it was too different with the prequels, and then you complained it was too similar with The Force Awakens, and now you're complaining it's too different again. You guys can never be happy, can you? I wish this argument would just die already. It's flawed, it's way too simplistic, and it just makes no sense. And I don't know where it came from. But it's kind of annoying. It's like people are trying to fit people's unique opinions and legit criticisms and trying to just lower it, like, oh, let the adults talk now. Trying to invalidate it and make it seem like something it's not. Trying to fit it into this little category of black and white, good versus evil. Just, oh, you're just a hater, and you know, it just defeats any good rational conversation that could be had. It basically says, I'm not hearing you out on your opinion. You were complaining about the movie, that means you were complaining that it was different, that means that you wanted to rehash, but then you didn't like that, so, you know, it's like they're fitting this whole thing into this little box, and they're not willing to listen to the person's point of view, but that's not what the complaints are about, okay? Just let this argument die. No one's complaining that the movie's too different, at least not me. I mean, I really like the aspect of that this movie is different. With all due respect, you're crazy if you do complain that it's too different. No one wants another rehash, or at least I don't. What the complaints are about is the plot, the characters, how faithful are they to the original movies, or the last movie, or it depends on the characters. How is the character development? How do they interact? What happens? Is it fun and exciting, or is it boring? The visuals, is it so much CGI or whatever? The humor, how silly and out of place is it? Is it all structured nicely, or is it just an incoherent mess? Certain characters dying too soon, or too late, or not in the right way, treating characters badly, you know, all that stuff. Just etc., you name it. There's a lot of different aspects that goes into a movie and what someone's opinion of that movie is. And none of them have to do with the fact that this movie's being different. The closest thing to that is my sort of nitpick about it not rhyming and keeping tradition, but that's just a whole, I guess, sort of nerd OCD thing where you want it to fit in to the saga. You want it to be a Star Wars film. As far as, you know, no one wants to see another Battle of Hoth. No one wants to see someone else get stuck in carbonite. No one wants to see the Millennium Falcon run through an asteroid field by a bunch of TIE fighters or what. I don't know. Look, just put thing here, okay? That's not the point. The point is no one wants rehashing. Everyone wants it to be different. Or at least people like me do, is what I mean when I say everyone. People with sensible opinion. No, I'm just kidding. Just you name it, but they're all pretty much legit criticisms. None of them have to do with, oh, it wasn't like the Star Wars I know. It didn't rehash everything. It didn't blatantly throw in my face what I've already seen, and you know what I mean? I mean, yes, some people might complain that it doesn't feel Star Wars-y, but that doesn't mean that they desire to be shown the exact same scenarios in the exact same way. For example, a resistance group trying to destroy another Death Star seconds before it destroys their planet via a trench run with X-Wings and TIE fighters. You see what I mean? Make a Star Wars movie with all the traditions and all its Star Wars-iness. I don't know, you know what I mean. But make the scenarios, make the plot, make the characters different. I mean, not the characters if you're like continuing from other movies. Make them faithful, is what I mean. Make it believable. But what I mean is, don't make new characters who are basically just the same characters we saw before, like, you know, Snoke being the Emperor type of thing. I hope you guys know what the heck I'm talking about, because I'm starting to lose track of what it is I'm trying to say here. I'm sure you might have got something out of my argument. I hope you did. Yeah, the complaint, I'm just saying that it's not about rehash versus different. Just because the movie's different doesn't mean it's automatically good, okay? Like, rehashiness, in my eyes, is always bad. It's just a trope, it's just cash grabbing and nostalgia and crap. It's just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I want to see something new. Different, the aspect of being different, is always good. I applaud that. I like that. However, what they do with that being different, I mean, it doesn't even have to do with it being different, really. It's still looking at the situation itself, with the plot and the characters and all that happens itself. It can still be crappy. I mean, the prequels are an excellent example for both the good and the bad. You got your good in it, whereas it's different enough to be something new, except for them destroying the Trade Federation control ship or whatever. But still, it's something new, but it still rhymes. Like, it still has some like locations and things that happen, lines people say or whatever. It still has that spirit, that same sort of, you can align them and it's like all poetry and it rhymes together sort of thing that's got going on. However, the story and what happens is different. That is the good part about the prequels, and then the bad part that people actually complained about, correct me if I'm wrong, is the overuse of CGI versus practical effects that they could have used, the silly kiddie humor like a creature stepping in poodoo or whatever, just Jar Jar sticking out his tongue and being clumsy, you know, just cringeworthy stuff, monotone, all that, you know, just look it up. This is a review about The Last Jedi. This ain't about the prequels. But the point I'm trying to express here is that the prequels are a good example, whereas you can still make something different while still keeping with tradition. You don't have to rehash or be completely 100% different and just, you know, having this, but Star Wars edition. You have this type of movie. Here's a James Bond movie, but it's Star Wars edition. Here's that classic time travel type movie, but it's Star Wars edition. Here's The Matrix, but it's Star Wars edition. It's set in the Star Wars universe. You know what I mean? Just all these different kinds of classic cinematic trope, I guess is the word. All this stuff, making it Star Wars edition. Don't do it. Don't do that. Not do that different. But what I mean is just make the plot different. Don't have the same rehashed crap. I hope I'm making sense, but I can't express it enough that this argument needs to die. You know, it depends how a movie is made and what happens in it. And I think this movie is just one big mess. It's a tasty mess, granted. Who would have thought? Crap. It's like junk food. It's bad, but it's good at the same time. It's a guilty pleasure, I guess. By the way, just a side note, I've noticed there is some curse words here and there, and a little bit of potentially crude humor in this movie. I was a bit shocked a little bit, because it's like, this is Star Wars, you know? Instead of being for kids and somewhere in there for adults, or both in general, it seemed more like it was for adults with some things for kids sprinkled in there. Though as far as myself am concerned, I don't care. I mean, I'm an adult for one thing, so yay for me, I guess. But I never really minded that stuff anyway. I mean, it's the kind of thing, if you're going to take your kids, or if you yourself, if you care about that stuff, are going to go to a superhero film, it's basically like that. Only I'm not even sure if it's that as bad as superhero films tend to be anyway, so I don't know. It's just, it's kind of a weird thing I noticed. Something that hasn't been in Star Wars really, but it's just an observation. It's not even a nitpick. It's just, I'm just letting you know. Do with that info what you will. Alright. All in all, this movie sucked, yet it was alright for what it was, ultimately. I don't know, it all felt like a weird dream. From the weird visuals and humor, to the outright crazy twists in the plot. This movie is kind of crappy though. So much missed opportunities, so many plot holes, CGI overload of visuals. Again, I don't care about that, but I'm just letting you know. Out of place humor and crappy treatment of beloved original characters. That's not to say this movie was a total disappointment, however. There are definitely some more enjoyable parts of the movie. The more I made myself feel like I was watching a parody and whatever happened didn't affect my fandomness or whatever, the more I actually enjoyed it. I was watching it as an outsider, so to speak, and that in effect, oddly enough, reeled me back in, and I was like, okay, I can get behind this, if that makes any sense. You know, I'm not like writing down, oh, this isn't Star Wars, screw you, Disney. I'm just watching it from outsider, and I'm like, okay. I know that kind of goes against everything I just said, but whatever. Because when I care too much and am too invested in this fictional universe, I end up hating it and saying, you know, screw you, Disney, you ruined Star Wars, ugh! Which, you know, I guess is kind of true in a way. But still, we have to remember, this is all fiction and does not matter in reality, so don't let it affect you too much. It's just a movie. Looking at it that way, I find myself to enjoy this new generation of Star Wars just a little more. Despite my ranting in the reviews, I just want to make sure to get all that stuff out there. You know, get it off my chest, get it off of everyone's chest. Say what everyone's potentially thinking. But I myself, this is how I feel, is while all that stuff is crappy, I think, I have to, you know, I remember that it's just a movie, it's just a fictional universe, doesn't affect anything in real life. So, yeah. Anyway, excuse my rambling, I probably lost you. By the way, Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Episode 8, The Last Jedi, Episode 9, From Slumber? I don't know. I mean, it should be something something Force faction. Like Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, you know, it should be like Resurface of the Knights, remake of Return of the Jedi. No, Reality of the Jedi. No, we've used Jedi twice. It should be something like whatever. Who cares? I keep rambling. Anyway, I will give this movie, I guess, a 5 out of 10. It failed, and it succeeded. Simultaneously. All around, it's just a wacky, just weird Star Wars experience. You will have to see it to decide for yourself how you feel. If you're watching a spoiler review without having seen it, I mean, what are you doing? You will for sure leave the theater, or your living room when you own it on DVD or whatever, wondering what it all means. Wondering what the heck your eyes and ears just beheld. You may question what this galaxy far, far away is really all about. At the very least, crappy or great, we have to admit that this movie brings forth discussion. This movie sparks discussion. Some crazy good fan conversations are on the horizon, that's for sure. I can't wait. There has been an awakening. Have you felt it?